I turned 38 the night everything began to unravel. Not 40, the usual age when men start buying sports cars they can't afford and Googling symptoms of a midlife crisis. 38. Old enough to know better. Young enough to still believe in things like second chances and loyalty. My wife, Melanie, had planned a dinner party at our place. Classy but not extravagant, just the way I like things. Close friends, home-cooked food, her signature bourbon pecan pie, and a few too many candles for a guy who still claimed to be 35 at the dentist. The living room was warm with laughter and clinking glasses. My brother Mike made a terrible speech that turned into a roast. My best friend from college, Dean, brought over a bottle of Macallan and told everyone I used to cry at old Pixar movies. I did. Still do, actually. That scene in Up? Don't even get me started. Melanie flitted between rooms like she was hosting the Oscars. She wore this deep green dress that made her look like something out of a painting, Vermeer with an attitude. She laughed at everyone's jokes, kept everyone's glass full, and kissed me 3 times, once on the cheek, once on the mouth, and once, mid-toast, on the back of the neck, like she was proud of the man she'd built from scratch. That moment? That was the freeze frame. The before. The thing I'd remember later, wondering how someone so warm could carry something so cold inside. Speech. Dean shouted. I rolled my eyes but stood anyway. Melanie handed me a glass of bourbon. She squeezed my hand before stepping back, that smile on her face, the kind that says we're a team. I raised the glass. Here's to being surrounded by people who love you. Oh, someone cooed. And to figuring out, slowly but surely, how to deserve them. Claps. Smiles. Even a few sniffles from the more sentimental crowd. And then Dean, always the idiot with perfect timing, said, Tell us about the first time you knew Melanie was the one. Laughter. Whistles. Melanie shook her head, blushing but enjoying the spotlight. I took a sip and smiled. Honestly, it wasn't some movie moment. It was a Tuesday. She brought me soup when I had the flu. And she didn't flinch when I looked like a raccoon that lost a fight. Laughter again. Warmth. The kind of night that wraps around you like a blanket. What I didn't know then, what none of us knew, was that 5 feet away, across the room, a man named Caleb was watching Melanie a little too closely. The kind of stare you give someone when you've already imagined them naked. Or maybe not imagined. He was new. A friend of a friend. I didn't even remember inviting him. But Melanie introduced him like they'd only recently met. And that night, I believed her. That was my birthday. The toast. The smile. The moment before everything cracked. If I looked closer, I might have seen the truth in the way her eyes darted every time he laughed. Or how her hand brushed his arm once, too quickly to seem planned, too naturally to be innocent. But hindsight wears perfect glasses. And at that point, all I had was bourbon, cake, and the belief that I was a lucky man. A week after the party, I found a photo on my phone that I didn't remember taking. Not because I was drunk. I wasn't. I'd had 2 glasses of bourbon the whole night. One during my speech. The other when I realized someone had eaten the last slice of my birthday pie, and it wasn't me. Still bitter. The photo was tucked in the middle of a dozen shots Dean had taken while pretending to be a photographer. Blurry crowd shots. Melanie laughing. Me holding a slice of cake with a candle shaped like a question mark. But this one? It wasn't like the others. It was taken from behind the kitchen doorway. At first, it looked innocent, just Melanie and Caleb. But the longer I stared at it, the more it changed. The way his arm rested on the counter behind her, like he belonged there. The tilt of her head, the closeness, the almost smile that wasn't quite meant for the camera. It wasn't a conversation. It was intimacy, dressed as small talk. I didn't panic. I didn't jump to conclusions. I did what any reasonable man would do. I zoomed in. Her hand was on his chest. Just the fingertips, resting lightly. The kind of touch you give someone when you think no one's watching. And the worst part? He wasn't even good looking. He had one of those neckbeards that screamed craft IPA snob and the smug eyes of a man who never waited for the check. That's what got me. If you're going to ruin your marriage, at least aim higher. I showed the picture to Dean a day later. He squinted. That's the guy from the party, right? Caleb something? Yeah. You remember him? Dean shrugged. Not really. Think he said he knew Melanie through work? Looked like he sold crystals to divorced yoga instructors. We laughed. But it wasn't real. That night, Melanie got home late. Not suspiciously late. Just enough for me to notice. Traffic, she said, kicking off her shoes. There was a wreck on the freeway. I nodded. You talked to Caleb lately? She didn't freeze. She didn't panic. She just blinked, tilted her head. Who? Caleb. From the party. Tall, smug, probably wears cologne with a French name. Oh, him. No, why? I shrugged. Just curious. He seemed comfortable. Melanie laughed. You jealous? It was meant to be playful, but something about her smile felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. Nah, I said, brushing past her. Just observant. I wish I could say that was the moment I knew. It wasn't. It was a crack, a hairline fracture in the facade. But the real break was coming, and it would hit like a hammer. I always thought if I ever caught someone cheating, it'd be some big dramatic moment. You know, the classic movie scene, slamming open a hotel room door, someone scrambling for clothes, gasps, yelling, maybe a thrown lamp for good measure. Turns out, real life is quieter, crueler, and a hell of a lot colder. It started with the charger. Yeah, of all things, a stupid phone charger. Melanie had been using mine for weeks, claiming hers was being weird. Fine. No big deal. Marriage is all about sharing, right? One night, she leaves her phone on the charger and hops in the shower. And something. I don't know what, exactly, curiosity, instinct, fate wearing sneakers, nudged me toward it. I didn't plan to snoop. I'd never done it before. But something about the way she locked her phone lately, about the way she'd angled the screen away from me, had been gnawing at the back of my skull. I picked it up, and just like that, the screen lit up. No passcode. She must have thought I'd never try. First mistake. The messages weren't in her main app. They were tucked away in an app one didn't recognize, one of those generic messenger apps with a forgettable icon and a password-protected entry. I only knew it because it was still open mid-conversation. And there he was. Caleb. Name saved as J. Classy. Subtle. Like a spy who flunked out of CIA orientation. At first, I couldn't make sense of the messages. They were all inside jokes and fragmented memories, like opening a book halfway through. But then I scrolled, and the truth came down on me like a dropped anvil. You left your hoodie again. Smells like you. I'm not washing it. When he kissed me goodnight last night, I felt nothing. You ruined him for me. Tomorrow at the gallery? Same time. Gallery. I sat down on the edge of the bed. The steam from her shower curled out of the bathroom like fog rolling into a crime scene. I could hear her humming. The same tune she used to hum when we were first dating, back when I thought she was the safest place in the world. It's strange. You'd think the moment you find out your wife is cheating would destroy you. But me? I didn't break. I switched. Just like that. My pulse steadied. My breathing slowed. My heart didn't shatter, it recalibrated. Whatever love I had in that moment turned into ice. Not rage. Not revenge. Just clarity. Like a man standing outside a burning building, finally realizing he's not the one inside anymore. She stepped out of the bathroom a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, acting like the world was exactly as she left it. I looked up at her, and I smiled. Hey, she said, soft and casual. You okay? Yeah, I said, voice calm. Just thinking. About what? Just everything. She paused, maybe sensing something, but she didn't press. That was her second mistake. Because now I was pressing back. The night I found the messages, I didn't confront her. That's what she would have expected. Explosions. Accusations. Maybe even tears. But I wasn't in the business of giving people what they want anymore, not even if they used to share my bed. No. That night, I just smiled. And I started cataloging. The next morning, I left before she woke up. Quietly. Didn't kiss her goodbye. Didn't make coffee like I normally did. Just drove to work, sat in the parking lot, and stared at the steering wheel until I could feel the heat of my own restraint. The first call I made wasn't to a lawyer. Not yet. It was to Aaron. Aaron's one of those friends you keep in your pocket like a Swiss Army knife. Quiet guy. Works in IT for a security firm. Used to moonlight doing digital forensic work for companies during internal investigations, tracking emails, keystrokes, deleted files. He owed me a favor. The kind you cash in when the world starts crumbling. You need dirt? He asked, skipping pleasantries. I already have dirt, I said. I need concrete. Dates. Times. Patterns. Something I can hold up like a sword in a courtroom if it comes to that. He was silent for a beat. You sure about this, man? No. But she made her choice. Now I'm making mine. He gave me a burner app that mirrored her phone activity whenever she connected to our Wi-Fi. I didn't even have to touch her phone again. It would all stream quietly to a private folder on my laptop, texts, calls, media. The whole digital diary. I installed it that evening while she was folding laundry. She asked if I wanted to watch something. Some British baking show we used to like. I said I was tired. Needed to finish work. She smiled and nodded. She thought I was pulling away because I was busy. Third mistake. By the end of the week, I had a timeline. She saw Caleb every Wednesday afternoon. Sometimes Saturdays if I was working overtime. He wasn't some accidental flirt. He was routine. Scheduled. Like garbage pickup or yoga. But here's what really gutted me. She wasn't just cheating. She was strategizing. Messages about how she'd planted seeds to make me think she was planning a girl's trip next month. How she was going to slowly shift the narrative to paint me as emotionally distant in case she needed a clean exit. It was like reading the minutes of a meeting where you were the only person who didn't get the invite. She trusts me less lately, Caleb had written. She didn't tell me about your birthday plans until the day of. Her reply? That's because I still feel guilty sometimes. Not about you, just about how easy it's been to lie to him. Lie to him. That's me. I was him now. Not Logan. Not her husband. Just the placeholder she deceived between midday rendezvous. But here's the thing. That message? That was the moment I stopped being hurt and started making a plan. Saturday, I picked up a journal. A leather-bound one. Looked like something a therapist might use or a detective might scribble clues in. It felt right. On the first page, I wrote, "If this ends in fire, let me be the one holding the match." The rest of the weekend, I became an actor. Not the bitter kind, no. I went full husband of the year mode. Cooked breakfast. Helped clean the garage. Watched that baking show with her. She laid her head on my shoulder, murmured, "I've missed this," and I resisted the urge to laugh out loud. "Oh, sweetheart, you're not even on the board anymore." I wasn't here to save the marriage. I was here to document its autopsy. The following Wednesday, she left the house wearing a sundress and that same soft perfume she used to save for our anniversaries. Told me she was meeting her coworker Jenna for lunch. I kissed her on the cheek. "Love you," I said. She smiled. "Love you more." "No, you don't." While she was gone, I called in sick and drove to the gallery. I didn't go inside. I waited in the parking lot across the street, behind tinted windows, watching the front entrance like a man casing a bank. At 1:17 p.m., she walked in. Caleb met her at the door. They kissed. Right there. Like two college students skipping class. At 2:06 p.m., I snapped a photo. Not blurry. Not from a distance. Perfect. Framed like a movie still. Her hand on his chest again. That same hand that just hours before had handed me coffee and told me to have a good day. Thanks to Aaron's mirror app, I already knew what they were saying to each other. But seeing it? That was different. That made it real. That made it evidence. By Friday, I had a folder full of digital proof, photographs, timestamps, and even audio logs thanks to Aaron's latest upgrade. It was timestamp treachery. Cheating in high definition. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet. But I knew one thing. I wasn't just going to walk away. Melanie had spent months building a lie. I was going to spend weeks unraveling her reality. Not in anger. Not in violence. Not with shouting or broken dishes. With precision. With patience. With strategy. After all, she taught me the value of planning. It's funny how quiet revenge can be. People think it's some dramatic explosion, a final act. But real revenge? It's slow. Surgical. Like termites in a beam, by the time the house collapses, it's already hollow. By now, I had the receipts. I had the messages. I had the photos, the location logs, the mirrored phone data, the sickening love notes that dripped with infatuation like honey over a blade. But none of that mattered if I didn't use it right. See, there's a certain danger in confronting someone too early. They either lie better or get smarter. Melanie was clever, I'll give her that. Not smart enough to cover her tracks, but clever enough to spin a narrative if she saw the storm coming. So I started rearranging the furniture, metaphorically. And it began with the finances. Melanie and I had joined everything. Accounts, cards, even our Spotify playlists. That changes when you're preparing for a Cold War. Quietly, I opened a new checking account under a different bank, one she'd never think to look at. I redirected my direct deposit from work. Split it evenly at first, just enough not to raise suspicion. Then I started shifting more. She never noticed. Or if she did, she never asked. Too busy planning her little art gallery afternoons with Caleb. Too distracted to realize the man she thought she was outsmarting had already packed the parachute and was halfway down. Next, the will. I didn't rewrite it, not yet. But I made a call to a lawyer friend of mine, Claire. We went to college together, survived freshman econ with the same level of caffeine dependence and mutual hatred for 8 a.m. classes. She was tough, discreet, and more importantly, she owed me. I explained the situation without naming names. "How soon are we talking?" she asked. "Not soon," I said. "Smart." She paused. "You always were the patient one." Turns out, I was just warming up. On the surface, everything stayed normal. Melanie still kissed me goodnight. Still made her morning smoothies. Still asked if I wanted anything from Target, like we weren't drifting in separate emotional galaxies. But little things started to shift. I started planting shadows. Subtle ones. Like the time I accidentally left my laptop open on the kitchen table, a document half-typed with Claire's name at the top and financial division in the subhead. She didn't ask, but I saw her glance at it 3 times in 1 minute while pretending to check a recipe on her phone. Or the day I casually mentioned seeing Caleb's car near my office. "Isn't he into architecture?" I said, sipping coffee like it meant nothing. "I swear I saw him downtown near that new development site." She froze, just for a second. Long enough for me to know that I had her clock ticking. I didn't accuse. Didn't even look at her. I just let the words float there like smoke, letting her choke on the possibilities. The seed was planted. From then on, she started watching me a little closer. And that was the point. I started working out again. Not because I wanted to win her back. That ship didn't just sail. It took on water, caught fire, and exploded somewhere near a reef. No, I started hitting the gym because I wanted strength. Not muscles. Just clarity. Momentum. A reminder that I wasn't stuck. Melanie noticed. "Someone's getting fit," she said one morning, raising an eyebrow while sipping her green sludge smoothie. "Yeah," I said casually. "Feels good. Clears the head." She smiled. "I like it." I didn't return the compliment. One evening, I came home early. She wasn't expecting me. Her car was in the driveway, but she didn't hear me come in. I walked in through the garage, quiet as a ghost. From the hallway, I heard her voice. Low. Playful. She was on the phone. I told him I had a client meeting at the co-op, but I'm actually just home. Honestly, it's so easy sometimes it's boring. She laughed. A light, careless sound. I swear, he's so nice. I think that's why it's working. He doesn't suspect a thing. I didn't move. I didn't cough or drop my keys or barge in like some righteous hurricane. I just stood there. 30 seconds of her call were all I needed. Just enough to record it. Just enough for the final puzzle piece. Then I backed out like I'd forgotten my phone in the car and made a little noise when I came in again. She greeted me from the couch with a grin. "Hey, you're early." I smiled back. "Just missed you." She never knew. That was the last day I gave her the benefit of the doubt. That weekend, I made a new file. A hard copy. Photos. Transcripts. Recordings. Bank statements. Everything dated, organized, and labeled like a courtroom exhibit. But it wasn't for a judge. It was for Caleb's wife. That's right. Turns out Mr. Spiritual Art God wasn't just stealing someone else's wife. He had one of his own. Found her through a shared Zillow search Melanie and Caleb had made on his account. Idiots. I found the name, cross-checked it on Facebook, and there she was. Rachel Cooper. Pretty. Kind-looking. Mom of 2. Wife of a man who thought he could play house in 2 different zip codes. I wasn't going to drop the bomb just yet, but I was going to let my finger hover over the button for a while. After all, every great revenge story needs a turning point. And mine was about to begin. It was a Thursday when I dropped the envelope. Not metaphorically, an actual manila envelope. Heavy with truth. Labeled in clean, sharp handwriting. For Rachel Cooper. Private. I didn't mail it. I delivered it. She lived in a quiet little neighborhood about 15 minutes from downtown. Caleb must have played the devoted husband role well enough to afford a 2-story colonial with potted succulents on the porch and a minivan in the driveway. It was the kind of house where you expect to hear wind chimes and see finger paintings taped to the fridge. I parked down the block, walked up like a guy delivering a package from Etsy, and tucked the envelope behind a welcome mat that said family, faith, coffee. All 3 of those were about to get tested. I didn't wait around. No doorbell. No knock. Just truth, quietly placed at her feet, waiting to explode. Inside the envelope was everything. Photos of Melanie and Caleb. Timestamped messages. A couple transcripts. A brief note. Rachel, I don't know you, and I'm sorry you're getting this from a stranger, but your husband has been sleeping with mine's wife. Thought you deserved to know. No tricks. No lies. Just facts. Logan. I signed it with a phone number that led to a prepaid flip phone. Not traceable, not conversational, just a line in case she had questions. I didn't expect a call, but I got one. 2 hours later, the phone rang. The screen lit up with unknown. I answered, voice flat. Hello. The pause was long enough to hear her breathe. Then she spoke, calm, deliberate. Is this real? Yes. How long? 3 months, at least. Probably more. I've got receipts going back 14 weeks. Silence. Then, softly, he told me he was going to therapy. That's why he was gone so much. I could have said something comforting, but that wasn't what this was. I know, I said instead. She told me she was at book club. Another long breath. Why are you telling me now? Because you deserve better than a man who lies to your face while babysitting mine. She let that sit for a while. Then, thank you. I'll handle it. The line clicked. No crying. No screaming. Rachel Cooper, it turned out, was made of steel. I didn't hear anything for 2 days. But Melanie did. Saturday morning, she came downstairs with this pale, confused look on her face. She clutched her phone like it was a ticking bomb. Something weird happened, she said. I looked up from the paper. What? Caleb's wife showed up at his gallery. I kept my face still. Rachel? Yeah. I didn't even know she knew where it was. Oh. She caused a scene. Called him a liar. A cheater. She told a bunch of people what he did. Melanie's eyes darted. He told me someone must have tipped her off. I sipped my coffee. Strange. She stared at me for a second. Searching. Then she forced a smile. Crazy world, huh? Sure is, I said. She didn't say anything else for a while. But I knew in that silence she had her first doubt. Maybe not that I knew, but that someone was closing in. In doubt, my friend, is gasoline to a liar. It makes them sloppy. That night, Melanie got paranoid. She double-checked the locks. Scanned her phone like a spy thriller protagonist. Cleared her browser history. Switched her passcode. Too late. I already had a full copy of her messages, backed up on a drive hidden behind a loose tile in the garage. I wasn't trying to catch her anymore. I was building her cage. And she was helping. The next week was tense. She pulled back on the Caleb visits. Started spending more time at home. Offering me massages. Making dinner more than usual. Guilt made her generous. One night, I caught her staring at me across the couch. What? I asked. Do you ever feel like we lost something along the way? It was bait. She was trying to reframe the narrative. Turn herself into a woman who drifted instead of a woman who plotted. I didn't blink. I think we both changed, I said. She nodded. Do you think we could fix it? And right there, I realized she wasn't just nervous. She was scared. Because now Caleb's house was on fire, and she wasn't sure if ours was next. But I wasn't going to fix anything. I was going to finish it. The next day, I met with Claire again. Okay, she said, pulling out the file. You've got enough to ruin her in court. Affair, evidence, timeline. California's not a fault state, but judges still look at behavior when it comes to custody and spousal support. I nodded. We have no kids. No joint property she can fight for. I just need one thing. Claire leaned forward. What's that? Control. She smirked. Well, Logan, that's what we're about to take back. We set the paperwork in motion, but I didn't file it. Not yet. Because I wasn't done. Friday night, Melanie came home with takeout and that practiced smile again. I figured we could do a movie night. Just us. Sure, I said, setting the table. Halfway through the movie, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, froze, then turned the screen face down. I already knew what it said. From Caleb. You told him, didn't you? He was unraveling. And she was about to. But not tonight. Tonight, we were going to eat pad thai and pretend we were still something worth pretending for. And when she kissed me goodnight, I kissed her back. Because she still didn't know. I was already gone. And the only thing left was deciding how poetic I wanted her fall to be. Melanie's paranoia was peaking. She started checking in on me more, popping into my office at home with forced affection. Working hard, she'd ask. I'd smile. Always. But her eyes flicked around, scanning for something. Maybe she thought I was cheating, too. People who betray often expect betrayal in return. Projection is the mirror they can't stop staring into. That Friday, I made my move. She had a charity gala for the arts, one of those events with fake hors d'oeuvres and real egos. She was speaking. Caleb would be there too, of course. I knew because I hacked her shared calendar. Subtle things give people away, like the note, prep with C, on Thursday night. I RSVP'd that morning. She didn't know I was coming. I showed up in a dark suit, no tie, clean-shaven, calm. She saw me across the room and blinked like I was a ghost. "Logan," she whispered, smile stiffening. "You didn't say. Thought I'd surprise you." I turned to Caleb. "You must be the gallery guy." He offered a weak hand. "Yeah, I've heard a lot about." "Likewise." I cut in, smiling like I wasn't already halfway done dismantling his life. Then I left them there, Melanie blinking, Caleb sweating, and I walked up to the event coordinator. Slipped her a flash drive. "Play this during the intermission instead of the slideshow. It's a tribute video," I said, sincere as a priest. 10 minutes later, the lights dimmed. And on the screen, photos of Melanie and Caleb, walking into hotels, sitting close at restaurants, laughing, kissing. Every image stamped with date and time. No captions. No explanation. Just betrayal, projected in 1080p for every donor and board member to see. Dead silence. People turned. Melanie stood frozen, blinking like she could rewind reality. Then the room erupted. I left during the chaos. Drove home. Ordered a pizza. Watched Jeopardy. It was a beautiful evening. She came home 2 hours later, face red, hair wild, makeup streaked. "You absolute," she stopped herself. Couldn't find the words. I didn't get up from the couch. "You embarrassed me," she snapped. "You embarrassed yourself," I replied. "I just brought a projector." She stood there, trembling. "You ruined my life." I turned down the volume on the TV. "No, Melanie. You did that when you forgot to clear your message history." She crumpled into a chair. "I can fix this," she whispered. "Maybe I go public first. Say you were abusive. Say you cheated. I could still spin this." I tilted my head. "That's interesting," I said, pulling a folder from under the coffee table. "Because if you're planning on framing me, you should know I've got audio from the day you told Caleb how easy it was to manipulate me." Her face dropped. "And a written confession of guilt you made the night you were drunk and forgot I was still in the room." "Logan, I'm not here to argue," I said, calm and final. "I'm here to tell you what happens next." The next morning, she came downstairs looking like someone who hadn't slept. I had breakfast waiting. "I'm leaving," she said, standing at the door with a small suitcase. I nodded. "Here's what's going to happen." She paused. "You'll sign the divorce papers. You won't contest anything. No alimony. No threats. No narrative spinning." She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. "In return, I don't press charges for misusing joint funds to pay for those hotel visits. I don't send the photo archive to your family, employer, or the board." Silence. "I get the house," I added. "And your name is removed from the title by Monday." She nodded. "You're cold," she said, voice cracking. "No," I replied. "I'm cured." And just like that, she walked out. No hugs. No tears. Just the soft click of the door behind her. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. She didn't fight. Caleb? He vanished from the art scene entirely. Word was his gallery closed. Rachel filed, too. Moved in with her parents in Vermont. Sent me a card. Just 3 words. "Thank you. Free." I kept working. Got back in shape. Started volunteering on weekends. I didn't date. Didn't need to. Not yet. You know what people get wrong about heartbreak? They think it ends you. It doesn't. It rebuilds you. I'm not the same man I was before the affair. That guy's gone. And in his place? Someone sharper. Quieter. Unbreakable. Because revenge doesn't mean rage. Sometimes it just means clarity. And I've never seen life clearer than I do now.